Today we have LeShun Daniels back with us. We talk Iowa football. Summer workouts continue. What does that mean for a football player? We'll talk to a former Hawkeye about that. What concerns does LeShun have for 2023 on the football field? And Big Ten Media Days right around the corner. What was it like for a Hawkeye player? Coming up today, Locked On Hawkeye.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. I'm Trent Condon. He's LeShun Daniels, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Available wherever you get podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube with our new graphics here. LeShun's seeing it for the first time, and you can find us there. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Well, LeShun, good to have you back with us here today. We got plenty to get into with Iowa football as we inch our way closer to football season. How's the summer been for you?
Been good. Been running around a lot. Obviously busy working. Obviously enjoying the nice weather. So can't really complain. I mean, summertime is always a good time, especially with family. So
Absolutely. Well, hanging out in Chicago for the summer, of course, working for the new college football game that'll be released next year. About a year away from the release date. I mean, you guys have been putting so much work into this. You push back the date another year. What's it like right now, going through the development, getting everything out there, trying to get everything? I know there's a lot of stories out there, but for you on the side that you are working on for the college football game, kind of what's it like on a day-to-day? Are you guys feeling it now as the date is about a year away?
yeah, I mean, just like when you get to this point, like on a video game, which again, this is my first like video game I've actually been like helping out with. Obviously, I've been helping out with Madden a bunch now, but like as you get to this point about a year out, like everything is really like ramping up like really like crazy fast. So almost feels like you're getting more and more busy, you're in more meetings, you're trying to hash out more and more things like every single day. But that's what obviously makes it really exciting, and everyone else gets excited around it. But yeah, definitely a lot of work, like especially at this point in time, because now Madden's getting ready to release in about a
Mhm.
month, and it's crazy busy over there. So we're gonna get to that point shortly over on college football. So everyone's all excited.
So, a question for you. Am I going to have to upgrade? I still got a PS4. Am I going to have to upgrade for this one, or are you going to release it on PS4?
That's actually a great question. I'm not gonna leak anything like that, but I mean, I always tell my gamers, it's like you guys should upgrade to
Uh-huh.
the new PlayStations or Xbox, whatever you choose, just because it's the games in general. They feel so much better on those consoles. Like if you haven't done it yet, uh, definitely the way to go.
All right, we'll do it. We'll get upgraded certainly by next summer and get ready for the new college football game. Well, speaking of college football, LeShun, of course, your days in an Iowa Hawkeye uniform, you know them well, making your way, getting geared up for August camp, and just what an important time period that is. What are the guys going through right now? I mean, short of the workouts that you're going through and working with the strength and conditioning classes, going through and doing different things there, what else are the guys doing to get ready for football season?
Yeah. Honestly, really like right now, outside of workouts and summer classes, you're really just trying to enjoy the summer as much as you can, without like being a knucklehead. Obviously, just hanging around with people that are on campus, which is usually just your teammates or other athletes. There's usually never too many people going around, so the days aren't terribly long. But as we get into July now, later July, like a lot of the stuff workouts have obviously picked up, like typically on Tuesdays, and Tuesdays you're going to be at the complex what feels like almost all day. Fridays are always tough like workout days, so you're usually in the complex 5 days a week, even possibly even 6 days, like coming in like on Saturday, maybe getting treatment or whatnot. But as you get ramped up for the season, so a lot of strength conditioning going on, not as much football stuff, because I want to say the coaches might even be like on vacation right now. Like I feel like this is like one of their key like vacation times where they relax. So it's really just the guys and the strength staff just getting right, making sure you're obviously in shape. Your body's peaked and ready to go to hit fall camp. So
One thing I think about, and a little bit different for you being a former running back, but that wide receiver quarterback, getting your timing down and a new quarterback coming in and figuring things out with what I was getting ready for with Cade McNamara. We talked about the trip that the wide receivers, the tight ends, and somehow Joey the Bull also made his way out there to be the liaison and helping out with some workouts out there on the defensive line. But Cade McNamara bringing the guys to California with him, getting that timing down. How about that during the summertime? I mean, are there times that the quarterback will grab a couple of receivers, a tight end, and go out, just throw the football around a little bit? And when those kind of things happen, what's it like? I mean, is it just like a nerd like me going out there and throwing the football around, or what kind of, when you're doing something casual like that, how are those kind of workouts like?
yeah, so I'm trying to think. Back when I was playing, CJ always wanted to throw. He wanted to throw like all the time, I swear. But like it would be like usually like those things would be planned out. Like it wouldn't be like totally random because like on Tuesdays and Wednesdays we typically would have like what we called skills and drills. They probably still call it the same thing now, but that's basically like where the strength staff essentially ran like a football practice almost, where it was basically like you go out, you get warmed up, you do like a quick individual with whatever strength coach was assigned to your group. You would do like group, you would catch some passes, and then we would go ahead and do like a quick 7-on-7, and then the linemen would still like go ahead and do their own thing. And then on top of that, like we would usually probably think throw on like Mondays and Thursdays, just to get again just some more reps and get that stuff in. So like a lot of stuff wasn't like truly random. A lot of it was like planned out. Like we would have a group chat. Quarterbacks would say, "Hey, I'm coming in to throw this day, or I'm going to come in at this time. If any skill guys are available, love to have you." So on and so forth. So it wasn't like truly random.
Mhm.
And like usually, if you were a skill guy you want to catch, you would probably hit up one of the quarterbacks and be like, "Can you come out here? Can you come out here and throw?" Sometimes the managers would be available, but not too often to come out and throw, because obviously like they want to get some relaxation time too, because they're crazy busy once the season actually starts. So
Well, LeShun, a lot of good stuff there. Iowa football, an anticipated season. I think people that have been listening, our everydayers out there on the Lockdown Network, know my excitement level for this football team. It feels weird. I don't think I've been as excited about a football team as I have in a long time. And certainly your guys' 2015 team, I was not as excited about that team that ends up running the season to 12-0 that I am about this one. We're going to talk about some concerns that you look at as we get ready for this football season. There's a lot going on in Iowa football. We will look at some of the concerns and the excitement level in 2003 with LeShun Daniels as he joins us here today. This is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. I've used LinkedIn Jobs to help find a couple of people to help me out on the radio side of things, people that have helped me out calling high school baseball games. It is simple to use, and that is the best part. Add your job, the purple hashtag hiring frame, to your LinkedIn profile, and that spreads the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Trent Condon back with you alongside LeShun Daniels here on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. As always, thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. So LeShun, looking at this squad, you got a quarterback upgrade. You feel like you got an offensive line upgrade. Caleb Johnson, after an outstanding freshman year behind a bad line, I think you're going to see even more out of him. The wide receiver room is certainly better. And maybe the tight end room isn't better, but it's going to be as good as it was, you feel, a season ago with Eric All, Luke Lachey, and what we saw his emergence a season ago. Let's start with the offense. You feel like they're in really good shape. What still concerns you offensively with this team? I guess we have to see it before we have to believe it. Maybe that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest thing. Obviously, got to see it, believe it. And it's all going to start like up front, right? Like, I think that's something I feel like over the past couple of years, just the overall offensive line play hasn't been quite what we're typically expect from the Hawkeyes, right? I mean, even with Tyler a couple years ago, just in general, the offensive line as a whole, just their play hasn't been as excellent as it's been in years past. So I feel like that's where really obviously got to pay attention to, because again, if they're not in sync and you can't protect the quarterback, right? It really doesn't matter who we have back there. No one's going to be able to have success, right? If they're getting pressure in their face immediately off the snap, right? So I feel like that's like the one thing that I'm really going to be looking forward to seeing their improvement. And I think that they are going to improve this year. So I'm excited to see their growth and that development from that unit. And then obviously seeing how the skill guys come together. So you got a lot of new moving parts around. You got a new quarterback, you got new receivers, you got a new tight end, you got all these new skill guys whose good chunk have played a decent amount of football, but haven't played football altogether at once. So it's going to obviously take some time for them to gel. See, most of the guys have been here since the spring, but again, that's still going to take time to really develop, and they're really actually going to have to hit on that when we get into fall camp here in a few weeks. So those are the two things offensively that I'm going to be looking to see how they operate, and that's really what's going to obviously I think determine how the guys move forward, how far this team goes, because we know the defense is going to be fantastic. Have a fantastic defensive line, have really good secondary, and always have really good linebackers. So it's going to be really fall back on the offense as it does every single year, right? Like,
Mhm.
if can the offense put up 20, 21, 20, 28 points every single week. And I think they have the potential to do that, but it's going to be one of those things like, can the offensive line be consistent and block, and can we make the big plays with our skill guys?
As you know, a year ago, I was very hard on Brian Ferentz. I've been hard on him since he started as the offensive coordinator at Iowa. And the conversations that we've had aside, knowing that it's going to be better this year, right? The offensive line, it can't be any worse than it was a season ago. That's going to help out a ton for somebody like him in that kind of role, knowing that there's a ton of pressure certainly on him coming into the year, but also knowing that you have those kind of weapons, that you have an opportunity to take a step forward. You're going to be able to block it better. How much easier does that make the job this year for Brian Ferentz, even with all the pressure that is on him, knowing that, hey, maybe we didn't have a full holster a year ago, but we definitely do coming up this season. How much easier does that make the job for Brian Ferentz?
Well, yeah, because it makes it easier just because, like, a lot of times, a lot of your regular plays that you're comfortable calling, that those guys are going to be able to go out and execute those. So when you want to get a little bit more flashy, you want to add a little different wrinkle there, that the guys that you have actually have the ability to go ahead and execute it at a high level. And I always come back to, when I was on the team, and you look at the 2014 offense, and our offense actually wasn't terribly stat wise in 2014, but it just seemed like a lot of times just things just weren't working. Things didn't click all the time. And then you fast forward 2015. This wasn't like we got a whole bunch of different transfers, but a lot of people that were young guys on the 18 before. In 2015, got a lot more playing time, and just the offense seemed a lot more cohesive. Felt like we were able to make plays when we needed to make them, and I feel like that's going to be kind of a situation that the Hawkeyes are going to be looking at this year. Except now you actually do have a ton of new different players. You got more experienced guys. So the thing is, can we be able to execute our basics? Can we run inside zone? Can we run outside zone? Are we able to hit on our quick game passing wise? And then now expand that a little bit. Now, how consistent are we when we are taking shots downfield? when we are trying to hit these explosive plays and doing that route. So yeah, it definitely makes it a lot easier on a play caller when you have guys who you feel like are guys, right? I mean, whenever you get better football players in the building, it makes your job much easier as a coach, because as a coach, you can be as good as you want to, but at the end of the day, the players are the ones that are going to be making plays. So the better players you get in the building, the better opportunities you're going to have for success.
Well, obviously the question remains on the offense. On the defensive side of the football, it's not real difficult to say depth at linebacker, depth in the defensive backfield. I guess those would be the concerns. But boy, the way that Phil Parker has elevated things, and obviously when you were playing, you know how good that defense was, but it's gone to another level even since then, going back, back to your playing days not too long ago. It's at a different level now. I mean, we watch this team week in and week out and how handcuffed they are so many times because of the ineptitude of the offense. It's incredible what they do on that side of the football, and just how good Phil Parker has done, because we're talking back to that 2014 team or your senior year in 2015. There were games where you're giving up 31, 38 points. 2014 blowing out, give up 51 against Minnesota. Those kind of games just aren't happening anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I don't know what happened in that time span when I was in school to over the past few years. Obviously getting better players in the building has helped, but yeah, Coach Parker and the rest of the defensive staff has really just taken them to an entirely new level, which has been fun to see. Because I mean, like you look at statistically, you look at Iowa from last year, and you look at them from an offensive perspective, you would be like, this team should have only won like 4 games, like realistically.
Yeah.
And the fact that the defense has been so strong and has been so good at taking the football away, and if they're not creating scores, when they do take the ball away, they're putting the offense in premium position to be able to go ahead and take advantage of that, and at the very least, convert it into 3 points. So yeah, I mean, the fact that they do such a great job of developing the guys who aren't necessarily starters. So when they do get in the game, they can immediately make an impact. There's obviously a ton of credit to the entire defensive staff, because yeah, like you just talked about it. I mean, let's see, we're replacing a few different linebackers, replacing some DBs. Let's see, we know the defensive line is going to be strong again. But I'm never really truly worried about those other position groups, just because of how strong that they've been over the past few years. And even though the defense wasn't as, I would say, as strong as it is now when I was playing, you still knew that guys were getting developed at a high level, even when they weren't starters. Like you think of Josh Jackson, right? He was a guy who didn't end up playing too much until his last year at Iowa, and we saw him just come on and be an absolute superstar. Riley Moss, again, he played a little bit as a freshman, and then obviously got a lot of reps and got better and better. And then over the past few years has been obviously lights out at cornerback. So I feel like that's a story that kind of consistently happens defensively right now. And yeah, I think the defensive coaches are obviously just doing a phenomenal job. So I'm surprised that Coach Ferentz has honestly been able to keep those guys still in the building. So
Phil's getting that check, that's for sure. Up to I think 1.6, I think was the number that I saw as his raise went into effect. And definitely when you look at other defensive coordinators across college football, it is well earned, because he could take an SEC job right now, double, maybe even triple what he's making at Iowa. That's how good Phil Parker is. Wrapping things up on the other side, Big Ten football media days coming up next week. LeShun didn't get to go. Is he still butthurt about it? We'll talk about that when we come back here on Locked On Hawkeyes. Trent Condon, LeShun Daniels back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. All right, LeShun, next week, Big Ten football media days, and we were talking a little bit beforehand. You had it right. Your senior year, the 3 attendees from Iowa, along with Kirk Ferentz back when it was in Chicago, were C.J. Beathard, senior quarterback, of course, Desmond King, of course, All-American, and Josie Jewell was the third member that traveled over to Chicago for that one. So you didn't get to go. I've had this theory, though, that this is something that is at least was a little bit of a carrot out there, right? Do the work right, put in the work, put in the time. If you're one of those leaders, you're going to have an opportunity to go over there to Chicago, get wined and dine. Do I see that correctly? Is that something there? And well, unfortunately for you, you had 3 stars in front of you that got to go to Chicago. But Is my theory at least somewhat close here that this is something that is always kind of out there for guys going into their senior year?
Yeah, I would definitely say so because, well, first off, you get to miss like the entire last week of workouts. You get to miss like that entire last week, and that entire last week is always a tough one. Like the strength staff will take them through like they'll do like a little workout, but we know it's never as actually as hard as what you're actually gonna get. So that's why you always wanted to go. You always had that little motivation to be able to do the right things and go. But obviously they picked three phenomenal guys to go. So I wasn't that salty about it, but was still salty about it. But at the end of the day, I was never the biggest media guy as well. Like, let's see, did a ton of interviews. Let's see, been interviewed obviously since I've been in high school. So like it was just as everyone has. So I mean, I've obviously been used to it, but I was never like the biggest media guy, so I didn't mind it. But I would have loved to obviously be able to miss that last week of workouts and chill in Chicago for a little bit.
Good one. Now, did you get to hear about the dinners, the things that, because back then, this is before the NIL era. I mean, it was one of those things where probably got to go to a nice dinner, got to do those kind of things the night before, got to, do the things that normally, certainly back then, student athletes weren't able to do. Do you hear any stories from Chicago?
I mean, I know that they obviously went to like crazy, like a bunch of like really nice dinners. I think they even took they might took like private jet over
Uh-huh.
and like all this stuff. Like, and you got drinks and whatnot in the private jet. You're enjoying it. You're living good.
Yeah.
So yeah, just at the end of the day, it's like yeah, it was a great experience. Super fun. Because like the interview stuff, like usually not even being interviewed for like, even that long, because like obviously most of the time it's being talked to the coaches and whatnot. So like yeah, like the players, obviously after once you get done with your stuff, like you're chilling, you're just enjoying your time there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So
It'll be Cooper DeJean, Luke Lachey, and Noah Shannon. Another thing there, as Josie went, I believe Josie was the first junior to ever go, at least in the Ferentz era, to media day. Does that sound right to you?
I want to say yeah, that sounds right. Because I
Yeah.
mean, I think he was was he a captain in 2015? I feel like
Yeah.
he was a lot of stuff like early, so like
Mhm.
it kind of just it honestly kind of just made sense, right? So, yeah, I want to say he was. So that sounds about right. I mean, see Josie, great ambassador for the university. So and when you become all American, it makes it pretty easy for to look back like yeah, that guy was the right choice. So.
He was the right choice. And then, of course, right after that, then you get ready for Iowa football media days. And that one's a different one. I mean, you have so many reporters around. I know plenty of times hearing the stories of guys that get in there that aren't really media members. I mean, they maybe they write on a website or something like that. They're not really daily beat guys that get in there and maybe ask you some goofy questions. Any memories of Iowa football media days? Had to take
uh
the pictures where you got the running back group all together and you got to do stupid poses, right?
we took as a running back group we took some good pictures. There's also like some really good pictures of me and James out there for media days, which are
Yeah.
really good. Like a lot of times, because obviously like not everyone gets interviewed, like they
Mhm.
don't want to talk to everybody, they just kind of want to talk to really a bunch of the two deep guys, and then maybe like some of the younger guys who might have opportunity to play, and that's pretty much it. Like a lot of times it's just a bunch of guys just out there messing around, just joking and whatnot. So no crazy memories. I can't even think of like crazy questions. I think I probably avoided most of that. But
Mhm.
yeah, obviously got a bunch of great picks from media days. I think I have a bunch still on like my phone just from from those days. So but yeah, media days is always a good time. Because usually it was like a relatively chill day. Obviously if
We
you're a
need
young
those in
guy,
August.
yeah, yeah. It's a chill day. As a young guy, it's the first time you get to put on like the jersey and whatnot, like as
Mhm.
a player. So like that's really exciting. So yeah, it's usually just a fun chill day.
Awesome. Well, hey, LeShun, great catching up with you again here. We'll work to do this more here in the coming weeks. I'll be off next week on vacation, family vacation, after I wrapped up my duties here, calling state baseball all week long in Iowa City. And then after that, we'll depart for vacation and be back at it right after media days and gearing up for Iowa football. Should be a fun season. Thanks as always for your time, LeShun.
Yes, as always, go Hawks.
Go Hawks. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Every day, we got a lot more coming your way. Tomorrow, it's a Throwback Thursday. We'll take a look back at some of the great teams in Iowa history as we've been doing here during our summer series. Next week, we also have Scott Docterman set to join us as I'm away. Going to record that one a little bit earlier from the Iowa beat. Busy, we got you covered every day. Your team every day. That's what we do here on the Locked On Hawkeyes Network and the Locked On Network here. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Go Hawks.